Good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed a nice lunch. So let's start parallel session 2, mainstreaming CES in the post-2030 agenda for enhancing integrated actions on climate and sustainability goals towards bridging local to global feedback loops. My name is Satoshi Kojima. I'm Program Director of Kansai Research Center of IGES. So today I serve as a moderator of this session. So this session aims to introduce the concept of CES, which stands for Circulating and Ecological Sphere. So this concept try to promote rural-urban linkages and then try to utilize locally available resources to create a self-reliant and decentralized society. And so today, in this session, we bring together diverse stakeholders from research experts and then policymakers from different parts of Asia to discuss and then deliberate on the feasibility and potential of this advancing this CES concept in accelerating climate and sustainability actions. So let's start our session. So first, we have 6 presentations. So first, I'd like to invite Professor Rajiv Shaw, Professor, Graduate School of Media and Governance, Keio University. So Professor Rajiv Shaw, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Kojima-san. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some esteemed speaker as well as very senior level policymaker who will be giving more concrete examples on mainstreaming CES. But what I would like to do in my allocated time, try to set up a few contexts, especially when you talk about the CES, when the CES concept started by or initiated by Ministry of Environment in Japan. I think the overall risk landscape is changing quite drastically. So I'll be talking a little bit about the importance of CES in this current changing global risk landscape. And if you see the title of this particular session, what is written there, I would like to focus possibly the one which is highlighted in English, which is integrated actions on climate and sustainability goals, as well as local to global feedback loop. Some of my contact details there, which you can possibly refer to later, but I would like to emphasize here is that apart from my own work in the academia, I had opportunity to also work with the IPCC's 6th assessment report, and possibly some of the things which I'll be talking are drawing some of the lessons from the IPCC experience. Okay, context one is this global and local connection. We all know that 2015, we had 3 major framework, the SDG, which is most popular, Paris climate change agreement, and then possibly the least popular maybe is the Sendai framework, which is on disaster. So disaster, climate change, and development. 2020, we experienced a major pandemic year, which is still possibly continuing in some parts of the world. And this year has been a midterm evaluation year of all these 3 global frameworks. This is actually a work which I did with some of my colleagues in IGES, and we prepared a policy brief, and this policy brief was prepared back in 2016. We tried to look at all these 3 specific document, SDG, Paris, and Sendai, and tried to search with the word called local. And what we found is it is 10 times mentioned in SDG, 48 times in Sendai, and 9 times in the Paris Agreement. And how these words are mentioned in terms of local authorities, local communities, local culture, local adaptation, then community knowledge, and so on. So I think what is a common agreement these days is that although we talk about the global framework, its actual implementation is very much rooted to the local. And all the 3 frameworks are actually focusing on importance of this type of local implementation. So that's my context number 1. Context 2 is, okay. Context 2 is this changing global risk landscape. Many of you are possibly following this World Economic Forum, the Global Risk Outlook, which is usually published January every year. So when we say 2020, January, so that is the analysis of the previous year. So what was the global risk in 2019? So I show you 4 specific examples of 2020, 21, 22, and 23. So 2020, if you see that there are many boxes and there are many things written, very difficult for you to read on that one, what is written there. But just to give you an outline that the green boxes are the environmental risk, the blue are the economic risk, and then there are social risk, geopolitical risk, technological risk, and so on. So it shows that the green boxes are getting more importance these days in terms of likelihood and impact. And what are those green boxes? Are disasters, extreme weather, biodiversity losses, climate inaction failures, and so on. So globally, although it is World Economic Forum report, so although it started with the economic risk, but I think this interlinkages of different types of risk becomes more recognized. 2020, that was the context. 2021, that means that was the analysis of 2020. So we had already COVID-19. So we had infectious disease as one of the top risks. But also 2 other risks actually arise, which is the digital power concentration and digital divide. More we changed our whole lifestyle, like whether it is work from home, education, healthcare, in the digital version. Means we have been very fortunate to have all this type of digital connectivity, but not the whole world is equally connected digitally. So we had the North-South, developed and developing countries divide. We had the urban-rural divide. Even within the developing country or the developed country, we had the different age group divide. The young people who are digitally native, they could access lots of information, but most vulnerable people are possibly the aging population, especially for Japan, who are living in the small town. So they are possibly not that much digitally native. So there is a new risk which came. 2022, cybersecurity became one of the critical challenges. More we try to use many online systems. And then this year, 2022, the energy crisis and the food pricing because of this long, prolonged war between Russia and Ukraine. So what I'm trying to point out here is that risk landscape is not static. It is changing over time. Within last 4 years, we have been seeing new risk. So we need to think about this whole concept of CES in this evolving risk landscape concept. The context number 3 is the climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction. What you are seeing here in the top diagram is from the Global Assessment Report for Disaster Risk Reduction. And this particular word, living with uncertainty, is a major, major issue. And possibly now we are taking it quite granted that, yes, we make some plan, we make some budgeting, but then we always live with the uncertainty. We never know that what will be the new risk coming. So living with uncertainty, how we bring this uncertainty issue into different types of planning is very important. And this left, the bottom one, this particular diagram is from our new report of IPCC, which was published last year, that earlier we used to, the left-hand side diagram was from IPCC 5th assessment report, and this is the 6th assessment report, where we are talking about climate resilient development. Earlier we used to focus more on the risk, but now from risk to more resilience, I think this concept is coming very, very important. So again, we need to put CES in that particular context. This is another very important issue which actually bothers me personally very strongly when I work with the small, medium town cities or villages, especially in Japan. You see that the digital connectivity, we all understand that, especially those who are sitting here, yes, this has become quite common. And if you see for last 10 years, 15 years, the internet users are increasing. Urban and rural both are increasing, but that particular gap of 15 to 20%, that is not coming closer. So it is more like a parallel growth. So The point here is the digital inclusivity. How we actually bring the digital inclusivity in the context is very important, and that is very much related to this urban-rural linkage or the concept of the overall CES. And for that, the Kishida cabinet started in 2022, last year, is this concept of the digital denentoshi. Denentoshi is the urban-rural connectivity. So it's mainly to how you empower the local government in small, medium-sized cities or the rural municipalities with more digital capacity building or digital education or digitization. You know that in Japan, we are going through the DX, digital transformation. We have a digital agency, but this particular gap is really, really very important. And when I work very much focusing on the disaster risk issue, when you talk about the early warning, I work in Kochi Prefecture in this particular city or small town where there is a very high aging population, and then digital penetration is very low, and there the tsunami risk or earthquake risk or even the typhoon risk is very high. And then if we just only focus on the early warning system with our smartphone, that is possibly not penetrating to hold the population who are living there. So this digital inclusivity is very important. Another very important point what I would like to point out here is this concept of open data and adaptive governance. Possibly many of you are working on this particular topic. So, very unfortunately, still even Japan does not have a national open data policy. But it comes quite from the bottom up. Many of the local government, we worked with the Shizuoka prefecture, the neighboring prefecture. There was a major landslide in 2 years back, 2021 in, I think summertime, July or so. And there was some open data which were available, which we call the Tengun data, which is the point cloud data. And with that, there was a very quick risk assessment and the damage assessment was created. So I think the open data has its problem, it has its challenges also. There are data privacy issues. But again, when we actually implement a CES strategy on the ground at the local level, this data becomes a major challenge. And so how we actually bring this open data, but also this adaptive governance, like it's not just the traditional way of governance. There are lots of new uncertain things. We have seen for last 2 or 3 years in the COVID-19, there have been lots of new things have been coming up. So I think my time is almost up. So I'd just like to very quickly focus on the citizen science part, where again, I find, I have seen that one. You don't need to hold it. I've seen that. So the citizen science part is like, this is like how we actually incorporate the local people, the local community actually to bring different types of data. And there again, it possibly goes in parallel with the earlier comment of this digital technology. So that's a very, very important point. So this is my final slide that yes, mainstreaming CES needs governance, technology, and resource support. And we need to keep in mind the risk landscape change, local implementation, local customization is very, very important. Again, we emphasize the digital divide between urban and rural, and we are going to a new technology domain. So emerging technologies and citizen science, open data, open governance become very, very critical. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Rajil. So your presentation highlights the importance of the changing risk landscape as an important background of promoting the CES and also the implication of new technology, particular digitalization. Thank you very much. Okay, so now let's move to the second presentation by Dr. Kazaki Takahashi, Executive Director, Planning and Coordination Department, Climate Change Policy Headquarters, Yokohama City. Takahashi-san, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your introduction. I'm Takahashi of the City of Yokohama, in charge of climate change policy issues, both of mitigation and adaptation. It's a pleasure to be here to speak about our policies, and I would like to show our appreciation of AGIS or organize this wonderful session, and also for holding ISAP continuously in Yokohama. As for climate change mitigation, we aim at net zero by 2050 and set a target of 50% reduction in compared to that in 2013. Among our challenges being conducted for targets, I will talk about two issues for carbon neutral today. One is energy transition and urban condition, and second is a demand-side approach or human-centric approach for attractive lifestyle and net zero. For achieving carbon neutral society, Ministry of the Environment Japan aims to designate decarbonization leading areas. These areas aim to achieve net zero from electricity consumption in households and business sectors by 2030. In addition, they make efforts to achieve reductions in other GHG emissions, such as from transportation and heat use, which is consistent with Japan's 2030 target, that is 46% reduction in 2030 compared to 2013. Minat area, where we are now, was selected as one of the decarbonization leading areas. As you know, this area is a leading business and tourist district in Japan and account for only 0.4% of the whole city, where about 10% of energy consumption by the business sector in Yokohama comes from. Here, we aim to build a model of decarbonization in urban area with public-private partnership. However, since Yokohama has huge population and does not have much open space, as you can see, it is difficult to generate a large amount of renewable energy. We estimate it is possible to generate less than 10% of our consumption in Yokohama. For securing renewable energy, we install PV on various spaces like surfaces of stormwater reservoir. Moreover, as in this slide, we signed agreements with 60 municipalities in Tohoku and Kanto region, northeast region of Japan, and is several hundreds kilometer distance, and that have a high potential of renewable energy. Under the agreements, we would like to cooperate together with application of circulating and ecological sphere concept. For example, regarding win-win cooperation, our project have been conducted and named E-Cycle program operated by Machimirai Seisakusho Company. Under this program, wholesale company is provide local governments where electricity is generated with regional revitalization fund. This fund is being used for various ways, such as biochar production, water quality survey of lakes, projects stimulating cities' economy, and so on. Also, local food and product fair has been conducted. This year, it was held at our city hall, located in 10 minutes walk from this place, with participation of 16 municipalities. Moreover, we conduct inter-regional exchange between youths. Last weekend, high school students from Wakama City in Fukushima Prefecture came to Yokohama and made cultural exchange with youths in Yokohama. And now we move on to the next topic, demand-side approach for attractive lifestyle and net zero. Here shows energy consumption in Yokohama City. You can see in Yokohama, DHG emissions from households is one of the big barriers for net zero. City of Yokohama have reduced the energy consumption gradually, but on the other hand, the consumption at household sector, Blueba, has been stable. And we need to make efforts for reducing these emissions for achieving net zero. We understand there are some reasons like difficulty to understand effect on climate, difficulty to contribute on mitigation, little attractiveness for climate change mitigation, and little idea on climate action. Any idea to solve? Now we are inspired by the report here by Yokohama in 2030, envisioning 1.5-degree lifestyle issued by IGES, and pay attention to carbon footprint. We are taking a demand-side approach for attractive lifestyle in an integrated way with consideration of carbon footprint. Under the approach, we try to promote various lifestyle with less carbon footprint and attractive aspects. This approach would make citizens to take action like PV, EV, that installation which needs higher cost but reduce much GHG emissions. Based on this idea, we have started a new program to innovate and spread attractive lifestyle under carbon neutral society. To reduce carbon footprint, new lifestyle is necessary for various areas such as fashion, food, house, transport, consumer goods, leisure, and energy. And to spread new lifestyles, we believe it should deliver not only carbon neutral, but attractive future. Under these views, Yokohama is trying to innovate business or local model related to sustainable and pioneer future. For this innovation, we utilize digital technology. We can share various goods and assist our activity and enhance local communities, which has been the basis of Japanese society for a long time. And at this program, we would like to integrate carbon neutral society, sound material society, society in harmony with nature, and sustainable development with CES concept. Lastly, for your information, I'd like to explain about Green Expo, which will be held in 2027, followed by another expo in Osaka, Japan, in 2025. We are planning to make this Green Expo to the showcase of green transformations like LGX. We are looking forward to meet all in 2027. We understand that net zero is a very challenging one, but we will make major effort to meet the target for bright future with consideration of CS concept. And we hope to work together to make carbon neutrality true with synergy between Paris Agreement and 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Takahashi-san, for your presentation, highlighting the Yokohama's effort, and then particularly this rural-urban linkage for renewable energy utilization, and then also lifestyle change, like demand-side solution. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's move to third presentation by Dr. Kamal Kishore Futane, Deputy Commissioner, Nagpur Divisional Commissionerate, Maharashtra, India. So Dr. Futane, the floor is yours.
Very good afternoon to everyone. Myself, Kamal Kishore Futane, Deputy Commissioner working at Nagpur Division. I am going to present here circulating and ecological sphere experiences in Nagpur metropolitan region. Friends, this is the Nagpur is known as a orange city. And if we see the map of India, the Nagpur is located at the center. And India's zero milestone is located in Nagpur. Nagpur is third largest city in Maharashtra and 13th largest city in India. There is a Nagpur metropolitan region. It comprises 721 villages, and its area is 3,567 square kilometers. Just if we see, there is Nagpur has 37.2 urban population, and 62.8 is the rural population, which is situated in Nagpur metropolitan region. Nagpur is a very fast growing city. Urbanization is very fast. There are some changes in our area. That is, one is temperature. There is a vast difference in maximum and minimum temperature at Nagpur region. There is also a symmetric rainfall distribution. We can see here the red line that shows the asymmetric rainfall throughout year. And there is also population. There is a population growth in urban area, and the population decreasing in rural area. Due to the drastic changes in temperature, rainfall, and urbanization, we have decided to start one campaign, that is My Earth campaign. And this My Earth campaign contains these 5 areas, 5 themes. And these thematic areas, just Bhumi, that means earth, Vayu, that means air, Agni, Jal, that means water, Agni, that means fire, and Akash, which is ether. We are going to take active participation of our citizens to protect these 5 Panchamahabhuts. There are 5 Panchamahabhuts, and on which My Earth campaign is based. Maji Vasundhara, that means My Earth campaign, it is a unique integrated first ever exercise by the Environment and Climate Change Department of Maharashtra. And main aim of this campaign is to take active participation of people. This is just like a competition in all local self bodies, and on different parameters they work. And after the end of the year, we evaluate them, and we give them prizes for their outstanding work. This is another scheme started by union government, and it is called as a PM Kusum Yojana. The aim of this scheme is to promote use and the generation of solar energy in a rural area. We are motivating farmers to establish solar plant on their field and increase use of solar water pumps for agricultural irrigation, and also increase use of solar energy for agriculture and domestic use. This is very useful scheme launched by union government. This is another scheme which is launched by state government. This is similar to PM Kusum scheme. This is launched by state government, and it is for to increase use of solar energy rather than traditional energy. We are focusing on solar energy through this scheme. Achieving equitable development of urban and rural region is the prime focus of Nagpur division. For this purpose, we have 5 priority areas. This first is water, that is ensuring adequate water that is safe and safe to consume. Then finance and job creation in Nagpur region. Then ensuring an uninterrupted supply of clean energy and environmental sustainability and social inclusion and gender equality. These are 4 priority areas. Then this is the CES as a potential approach. This is one of the valid approach. I thank you to IGIS for providing such type of approach to us. Previous studies jointly done with VNIT and IGIS have identified these five entry points that are policy coordination, technological intervention, stockholder engagement, rural-urban partnerships, and community awareness. These are the 5 entry points for this purpose. Interdependency of rural and urban area without loss of any unit can be achieved through CS approach. This is the existing administrative hierarchy for enabling ES, and this is from urban area and for the rural area. I am also the part of this this system. This is for that is union government, state government, and these are the local bodies. Water is a crucial linkage between urban and rural area. Joint studies with APN and IGIS have shown that during rain deficit periods, conflicts are likely to arise between rural and urban areas. Rural area needs more water for agriculture, and urban area needs more water for drinking and industrial purpose. The idea of urban covering the rural deficits have emerged through these studies, which is valuable finding under the CS action plan. This is the new initiative we are taking in Nagpur region. That is there is out of 365 days, 300 days are sunny days in Nagpur region, and average temperature throughout the year is 30 degrees Celsius. In Nagpur region, Nagpur metropolitan region, the barren land is not available, and the cost of land is very high. So multi-purpose use of land is necessary, and I think agrivoltaics is a very good initiative, and it will help us to promote solar energy. A bottom-up approach rather than top-down approach for inclusion has been adopted for generating an effective action plan. These are some photographs of various gatherings. The collaboration work between VNIT and IGIS and KU University can greatly assist in achieving the envisioned goals of the Nagpur division. I think if we collaborate, our collaboration will do in agrivoltaic area, and it will help for the more use of solar energy and decarbonization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Futane, for sharing the concrete cases in Nagpur, India, to implement this kind of CS concept approach. Okay, so now let's move to the next presentation by Dr. Bijon Kumar Mitra, Deputy Director, Integrated Sustainability Center, IGES. So, Mitola-san, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Kojima-san. This is, I think, before my presentation, three colleagues already made a very insightful presentation from the global perspective, from the local government perspective, from Japan, as well as local government perspective from India. So, and several times you heard about the CES concept of circulating and ecological sphere concept. I think this is time to tell something about this CES concept. So my presentation will actually cover on this, what is the CES concept is, and what is the application of CES concept to address the sustainable development challenges as well as climate change risk and challenges. Okay, so just wanted to share with you, I think Professor Rajiv Shah already shared that there are many sustainable development challenges we are facing. It is not only limited to climate change, but also related to disaster risk, as well as ecosystem and biodiversity loss, and increasing pressure on the natural resources. And if you see, to address these different challenges, SDGs was adopted by the global leaders and set up a number of global goals as well as the targets. But if you see where we are now, we are actually could not achieve the significant progress on this sustainable development goal. And in some cases, actually, we are behind it is negative trend is showing when, if we compared with the situation is 2015. So the question is how we can achieve sustainable development. And Professor Rajiv Shah already in his presentation highlighted the importance of this localization, local actions to achieve this sustainable development goal or climate change mitigation target, adaptation target, as well as Sendai framework on the disaster risk reduction. And once the global leaders adopted these goals at the global level, then national government also, they develop their development policies and integrate these global goals in their national development policies. But most important is how to actually implement these global goals and the national development plan at the local level through the collective actions. And there actually it is important to bring the linkage between the urban and rural. And with this partnership between urban and rural and collective actions that can actually help to achieve both the national development plans as well as the global actions. And this is some of the example why urban and rural linkage is important, why it need to be considered to achieve our global goals and national development plans. If you see that urban and rural, they have many synergistic relationship. And if we can actually capture this synergistic relationship, that can help to achieve the sustainable development as well as the climate change mitigation and the adaptation target. So if you see, this is just one of the example from the perspective of the net zero target. So if you see that city is the mainly, as Takashi-san from Yokohama City already pointed out, the city has a very high demand of the energy. And they also made a big commitment to achieve the net zero by 2050, but they have limited resources within the territory of the city boundary. So that's why it is important to consider how they actually capture the potential in the rural area to achieve this net zero target. So there, if we can bring this urban-rural partnership, that will not give only contribute to the environmental benefits, but it will, of course, will provide the social benefits as well as localization of global goals and the revitalization of local economy. So we need to bring not only environmental aspect, but also we need to connect it with the economic revitalization aspect as well as the social benefit. So with that, actually this circulating and regional sphere concept emerges as a kind of holistic and integrated approach that bring the low carbon society, resource circulation, as well as living in harmony with nature. That means that it actually give the emphasis all of the three elements under the common framework. If you see that we also have different other similar kind of concept, very good concept, green economy, circular economy, ecosystem-based approach. Actually, they have actually different emphasis on the different pillar. But in case of circulating and ecological approach, what is important, they actually bring in this concept that is the urban-rural connectivity should be properly recognized as a solution to achieve the global goals and the national development plans. And environmental sustainability, economic prosperity, and social well-being should be actually considered with the same value. So the basic approach of this CES is actually connecting the natural capital with the produce capital to address the challenges that is faced by the urban and rural area. And basic approach is, as I told, that explore the simultaneous solution for the environment, for the society, and for the economic development. And by maximizing the locally available resources. That is also another important aspect of this new concept. In fact, in Japan, this concept already adopted in the basic environmental plan that was released by the government of Japan in 2018 as a kind of approach for localization of SDGs and climate actions. And these are the example where Japan is implementing CS approach for different sustainable development challenges. It can be used for the forest management, for renewable energy, resource circulation, and as well as disaster risk management, as well as the net zero achievement by the cities. And we consider that this concept also will be very helpful and applicable for the other countries as well. So that's why now we could establish a consortium, CES Asia Consortium. We are collaborating with the 10 organizations in South Asia and Southeast Asia and working with them to promote the co-design approach. And we take the bottom-up approach, actually with the local voice, take it the national policy making, and then contribute to the global level decision making. That is our actually vision, because 2030, post 2030 discussion already started, and this is the time actually bring this discussion and bring the local voice to the global action. So that is the kind of vision we have in our mind. And if you see that we are now currently working with our partners in Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Indonesia, Japan, Nepal, Philippines, and Thailand. So we are working with our partners to actually prove that this concept not only work for Japan, but also it is working in other countries, as Mr. Kamal Kishore also pointed out that they are already in the process to actually apply CS approach in Nagpur context. Okay, this is our approach. Basically, our approach first need to generate the knowledge and communicate this knowledge with the local government and build the partnership with them. And then based on that, develop the, co-develop the CS action program and apply this action program to address the global goals and the national actions. So we are working in the managed cities, I already shared with you. And this is one of the example I would like to share from Hachinohe. We just followed the same framework I showed you. We first consulted with the local government, try to understand what is their priority, what is their issues. And based on that, we actually design our research project. And then based on our research project, we identified that Hachinohe City can actually achieve their net zero target by 2050 if they use their vacant agricultural land. Hachinohe is the actually depopulated area, so there are many agricultural land become vacant. But if that land can be used for the agrovoltaics, we are not promoting the totally shift from the agriculture to the energy generation, but we actually want to, our proposal is keep that agricultural land and then grow the crop and generate the solar energy together. And if you see with that, Hachinohe City can collaborate with their neighboring rural areas and contribute to the net zero. So this is one of the kind of, after this result, we showed it to the our Hachinohe city government, and then finally we come up with the kind of MOU signing ceremony between IGS and Hachinohe city. Will work together for a long-term collaboration and support them to develop the roadmap for the decarbonization regions, pathways for revitalization, and co-benefited strategy of net zero action in Hachinohe. So this is the one of the example that, and there are many challenges actually. I will not go to this. Maybe in our panel discussion we can discuss about this. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mitora-san, for the good explanation of a conceptual background and also some practices, and including CES Asia Consortium. So now I'd like to invite Dr. Naoki Shoji, Deputy Director, Center for Research Promotion and Regional Future Creation and Graduate School of Food Industry, Miyagi University. So, Dr. Shoji, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I would like to speak in Japanese, so please put it on the device to listen to the translation. Stay on channel 2 for English translation. Today, I come from Miyagi Prefecture in Tohoku District. Earlier, we talked about Sendai DRR framework, and I'm from exactly that city, Sendai City. And I will talk about the local situation. How locally we plan to achieve carbon neutrality, what are some of the advantages, what are some of the benefits that we can bring about to local community members. I will cite some specific examples in my presentation. As was already explained, here in Japan, we have carbon neutrality policy. By 2030, we pledge to reduce GHG emission by 46%. And there are three major carbon policies. One is to increase the use of renewable energy. Secondly, energy conservation. And also negative emission. How we can fixate and remove carbon. These are three major policy areas. We heard example of how we can increase the use of renewable energies. Of course, this is important. And in Japan, we rely heavily on fossil fuels. How can we make a switch, replace fossil fuels with renewable energy sources? That is important. We saw earlier in Yokohama City, the urban area and local area, how can they actually connect with each other to flexibly share energies? That too is important. But on the other hand, in a local area, is it really beneficial to introduce renewable energy? You see, we have three kinds of Japanese archipelago map. The red dots on the left-hand side indicate the location of thermal power stations. We do have 282 thermal power stations. In the middle map, we have solar power stations, many more than thermal stations. We have 14,243 solar power stations. And far to the right, we have wind power stations. We had thermal power station mainstream in the past, but we see an increase of solar powers. Many of these solar powers are quite useful to local community, located close by to the local communities. So renewable energies are something that is close to local community members. What are some of the impacts? There are risks as well. Natural environment may be destroyed because of a large-scale solar power or wind power station construction. Nature ecosystem may be destroyed. This may result in higher disaster risk. So renewable energies are beneficial, but at the same time, they will come with risk. How locally we'll be able to increase renewable energies and mediate risk? We have to have local agreement. It's not just the energy transport within the urban area. It does not bring any benefits. We have to have high interest level in the local community in introducing renewable energies. Let me repeat once again. It is important to have renewable energies in a policy, but we have to spread the use of renewable energies. To do this, we have to make sure renewable energies are beneficial to the local community members. And it's not just the environment, but economy must be enhanced by introducing renewable energies. This is a common issue. We have depopulation, aging population, and industries are declining in local areas. When we are losing people, transporting renewable energies to urban areas from the local towns will be difficult. So we have to make sure we protect the environment and enhance economy. So both of these need to be met at the same time. So in that sense, there are some important issues recognized locally, that is negative emission. There are many kinds of natural resources available in a local area. Many of these have a capability to fixate carbon. For example, seaweed. Seaweed is concerned that they are also part of natural resources that will actually capture carbon. So it's blue carbon. Other than that, we eat seaweed day by day. Many other food can actually used to capture carbon. And in agriculture areas, we know that the farm area emits methane. This must be controlled as well. The other important aspect is circular economy. Some of the resources that are simply wasted should be reused, recycled, and upgraded. Biofuel could be one possible target. What was wasted, maybe food waste, can be processed so that we can add value. Many natural resources can actually generate energy like biomass. So in the local area, we have rich natural resources available. So utilizing those resources, we have to work on both of these areas, negative emissions and circular economy. So now I want to talk about Minami Sanriku Town in Miyagi Prefecture. In Tohoku District, what is important is really the experience of a Great East Japan earthquake. Minami Sanriku Town is a very small town. The population is about 17,000, was 17,000, and we had this major earthquake. We lost 620 people. 211 people were not accounted for yet. And the population declined by about 30%. As of today, the population is much less than before the earthquake. So it's been depopulated area. So some of the characteristic of Minami Sanriku Town. After the event, they had a rehabilitation plan, and they have beautiful landscape today. So if you ever visit Miyagi Prefecture, please do go to Minami Sanriku Town. They can offer very tasty seafood. So major characteristic of this town is their effort to restore economy, livelihood. So you would think that they are building infrastructure. They are actually placing more focus on environment rather than the infrastructure construction. So resources are to be circulated so that their livelihood will be affluent or rich. So that is the basic concept. In this town, there is one thing that is happening today. Minami Sanriku town is rich with nature resources. In the town, there are rivers, they have watershed, from mountain to villages, then to the sea, river flows. And also there is also the Shizu River. This is now registered as a Ramsar wetland. And the problem they witness today is the rampant growth of sea urchin. Sea urchin is Japanese delicacy, but when you have too many of these, there would be a harm caused by sea urchin, which we call isoyake or loss of seaweed. So the problem is how to remove sea urchin so that we will be able to recover and restore seaweed bed. And seaweed can be a source of blue carbon. If we can earn credit, we'll be able to support local economy. At Miyagi University, through research, we are trying to restore seaweed bed. Some of these too many sea urchins, which are of poor quality, we actually feed clovers, the plants clovers, to sea urchins and make them high quality sea urchin. We can brand this in marketing efforts. And then we'll be able to restore seaweed bed and we'll be able to brand sea urchin. We can sell this sea urchin at higher price. So environment, economy, both of these conditions will be met with this carbon circularity. By restoring seabed, we have more rich marine resources. As a result, we'll be able to enhance more resources, natural resources. Some of the resources which were wasted can be used for biomass-based power station or controlling methane gas. As a result, we'll be able to enhance our environment. So we have three goals: environment, economy. We have to achieve both of these. We have to lay the foundation for new industries for next generation, and then we are trying to strengthen resilience. Lastly, this is the picture drawn by a member of Minami Sanriku town. As you can see, the citizens are very much interested in environment. Thank you very much.
Shoji Sensei, thank you very much for very interesting concrete example of Minami Sanriku. Okay, so now let's move to next presentation by Mr. Yukihiro Imanari, Program Advisor, Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research, APN. Mr. Imanari, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kojima. So we already listened to many very interesting talks, presentations. And but before I start my presentation, short self-introduction of myself. My name is Yukihiro Imanari, Program Advisor at the Secretariat of the Asia Pacific Network for Global Change Research, or in short, APN. After all these very interesting presentations we already listened to, I would like to report about the outcomes of 3 national workshops on regional CES, my organization, APN, and IGES Cancer Research Center conducted jointly. The thoughts I will bring up in my following slides, they may be quite obvious, too obvious maybe, but I'm quite sure that when continuing to think about how to tackle the problems we are facing these basic thoughts could be really, really important to consider. Next slide, please. Sorry. This is not the slide. Previous one? No, further. No, you need to go back, please. That's the one. Okay. No, yes, this one. Thank you very much. So I think there's no need anymore to repeat what the regional CS or CES concept is all about. However, please allow me to emphasize the fundamental philosophy of this concept. And this concept, as we already heard, was introduced by the Ministry of the Environment of Japan in 2018, I think. So the regional CES is a concept to promote sustainable development through applying circularity principles at the local and regional levels for maximum utilization of local strengths and resources. So that means this concept puts a lot of emphasis on the equitable collaboration between the rural and urban communities of all kinds of societies. On that note, it was really interesting for me to hear from Professor Monte Kassim in the very first session in the panel discussion also, that he was exactly stressing this point. Next slide, please. So we heard the concept stresses quite clearly that no community is able to be entirely self-contained. However, it encourages communities, in particular those in the countryside, to utilize their unique characteristics to build a self-reliant and decentralized society. And actually, many good examples introduced in MOEJ's concept paper are efforts undertaken in rural regions of Japan. And we just heard from my previous presenters that a lot of efforts are done and conducted on local level. Next slide, please. So we heard that IGES has been promoting the concept of regional CES with partner organizations for a couple of years already. And in order to further investigate possible applicability of this concept under different local characteristics, APN and IGES Kansai Research Center conducted a collaborative project with workshops in 3 Southeast Asian countries, namely the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia. The objectives of the workshops were, okay, try to introduce this concept to other countries and investigate in how far it is applicable to different local circumstances. But we also wanted to check what kind of other similar frameworks and concepts already exist. And then, of course, we wanted to identify challenges and possible ways to tackle these challenges. Next slide, please. So please allow me to present to you very briefly only on each of the three workshops. The first workshop was held with our colleagues from the Philippines, but this event was held only online due to COVID. And that was in February 2022. After a couple of discussions, we found out that the Philippines were and are striving their own efforts in achieving sustainability and tackling impacts of climate change and other climate change-induced challenges, both in urban and rural regions. The major issues identified are listed here: mismatch in priorities of policies at local, subnational, and national levels, wasteful duplication of plans, lack of knowledge and information sharing. To tackle these challenges, the workshop suggested following approach: stronger stakeholder engagement and empowerment, strengthening cross-sectoral coordination, and sharing knowledge and research and development of circular economy practices. Next slide, please. The second workshop was held, was that in October? Yes, in October 2022 in Thailand. Here, the participants identified incompatibility between top-down implementation and local needs. That means lack of understanding of the situation on the local level. And to tackle these challenges, the participants discussed following strategies: improvement of laws or regulations taking into account the local specific needs, establishment of stakeholder platforms that could help to encourage community participation in spatial planning processes. Next slide, please. And finally, we had the third workshop in Indonesia in May this year. And here the challenges are quite similar, but very interesting because there was more interactions in the workshop between urban and rural stakeholders. It was felt that the urban-centric positions overrule rural or may overrule rural interests, lack of inter-municipality coordination, and different cultures, different traditions between rural and urban communities. And to overcome these challenges, following approaches was considered: spatial planning with accurate mapping, effective law enforcement, and addressing conflicts between land ownership rights and spatial regulations. Next slide, please. Lessons learned from these three national workshops. So I personally felt very, very strongly that more inclusion of rural communities is needed. Strong emphasis on engagement of other stakeholder groups. However, regional CES is still very urban-centric. So that means stronger and more thorough engagement on stakeholders from rural areas is essential. And that means the communication must be improved. National development plans without understanding of the needs of rural communities doesn't work. And in order to improve this communication, legal infrastructure must be strengthened. Next slide, please. And we also found out, I also feel strongly that regional CES is not the only concept around, as other frameworks and concepts exist and being implemented. In all three countries we were looking at, there are initiatives, frameworks, concepts, which try to exactly tackle the problem the regional CES is also trying to solve. So again, at the end, need to further investigate these other concepts, learn from their experiences, but we also know there's no perfect fit for all. And in order to move forward, better communication with all stakeholders is simply too crucial, and we need to really try to improve communications. Next slide, please. So this is the end of my presentation. If you want to learn a little bit more about the results of these 3 workshops, we have a poster here in the foyer, so please feel free to come over and have a look. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Imanari-san, for sharing the key messages and the lessons learned from 3 national workshops. So now let's move on to the panel discussion session. So may I invite all panelists to come to the front? Okay, thank you very much. So first, I'd like to ask questions to each panelist. And if time allows, I'd like to invite general comments, questions from the audience. But first, let me ask question one by one. So first to Professor Short. So my question is, so you talked about this importance of risk landscape to consider this regional CS concept. So I think there are two ways of feedback or 2 ways of implication of risk landscape. One is so regional CS application must consider changing risk landscape. But on the other hand, also this concept can influence, can affect risk landscape itself. So if you could elaborate this point, please.
Thank you very much. I think I talked about 3 specific issues on local implementation, risk landscape change, and the technological growth, as well as technology divide or digital divide. And I think both CES has an influence to all these 3 issues, but also the 3 issues can also actually, like it's a both-way interaction between the CES concept as what we are seeing in the global risk landscape. And to me, I think to absorb that, what I mentioned also a little bit briefly about the adaptive governance becomes very, very important because we have lots of uncertainties around, and they are how the local government can actually take very specific decision to make one step forward or to make one step specific action. I think in CES so far, the overall policy-wise, it is very well accepted. We all understand. Bijon gave some very classic example to bring the CES in more in the local level in Japan as well as in other countries. I see CES more as a governance tool. And in our IPCC report last year, we very categorically mentioned this as a important governance tool. And that's how I see the importance of CES to address, to actually incorporate into this risk landscape. But I think what I would like to also to address to all of us, like I think we need some sort of assessment tool or methodology, like how we actually measure the CES, especially when it's a simplified tool, it's required, which possibly can help the local government, especially not just the policy making, but also to make specific implementation as also monitoring the progress. I think that's a very, very important thing.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, that's true. Like there are very interesting application of this concept, but like monitoring progress and sometimes clear definition is a problem. So yeah, I think the both approach is necessary. Okay, thank you very much. So next, I'd like to ask Takashi-san. So your presentation covers very interesting cases of Yokohama's effort, and I'm particularly interested in how this has a demand side approach, like lifestyle change, and then this regional CES concept, particularly like revitalization of local economy or utilizing local resources. So how you can, as a connect this kind of things, if you can have some idea, please.
Thank you, question. And it's very hard question for me because now I'm under consideration of this kind of point. But I really understand that participation of the citizen is very essential for achieving net zero, especially for the reduction from household sectors. And I realize that not only the aspect of the decarbonization cannot be attracted to many citizens. So I like to make any other aspect of attractiveness and or well-being will be necessary. And this kind of the point should be made by not only public sector but other private sector and NGO or citizens. So we need to collaborate them under our project. And now I say again that I'm still under consideration and I need more idea.
Okay, thank you very much. But yeah, particularly I think your point that has a relation, like contribution to like well-being or like better life is very important to promote this kind of approach. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so now I'd like to ask a question to Dr. Futane. Yeah, so thank you very much for sharing your actual the cases in Nagpur. So we are very glad to know that this regional CS concept actually implemented in Nagpur. And then we are interested in like what the next step for your effort.
Thank you. We have conducted this study regarding CES, and we found so many things. But we are looking forward for a better. Just in my presentation, I had shown that agrovoltaic project, and for the zero carbon emission, I think it is very useful. Government has taken so many initiatives, just like PM Kusum and that Mukhyamantri Saur Vahini Yojana. But participation of people is very necessary, and I think just in that reason, the cost of land is very high, and farmers are not willing to give their land for only for that solar energy purpose. So I think agrovoltaic is the one of the hope for us, and we are willing to do much more things in that field, and we hope for the help from just university, IGIS, and these all people, that if they give us some help for that purpose, that we can start the agrovoltaic project in Nagpur region. And I think it will be the better project for us, that we can generate solar energy and we can use it, and farmers can use for their irrigation purpose and domestic purpose also. This is our future vision.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, particularly focusing on this irrigation. Okay, thank you. So now, so I'd like to ask Mitra-san about, yeah, so Professor Shaw mentioned about the importance to monitor the progress of CS. So if you have any idea, any comments about this progress, monitoring issues.
Okay. Yeah, this is very important, actually, point need to be considered for sustainability of application of CES. For any kind of new concept, I think monitoring is very challenging, and it is important to actually monitor it. So we haven't started yet actually what should be the monitoring framework, because we are still at the very initial stage to take this to the local level implementation. And once we start this implementation stage, maybe that will give us more important insights that can help us to think that what kind of monitoring framework will be applicable to actually monitor the progress, sustainability of CES approach. And one good example from Japan I can share, that is the SDG platform that is MOEJ established at the regional level. At one of the purpose of to establish this SDG platform is actually to bring people, money, skill in same platform. Once we have this all three resources in the platform, then it will actually help to develop this kind of monitoring framework, evaluation framework with the appropriate methodology. So I will actually stop here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now I have a question to Shoji Sensei. So yeah, your case of Minami Sanriku is very interesting. So I'd like to further know more detail about like how like benefit. Okay, first how like local people can be engaged in this kind of activity, and how like benefit sharing works in this concrete case.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. There are some factors in place compared to an urban area. The local community members have strong affinity to the place. Some of the young people may leave to work in urban areas, but they return back to their hometown. There are a lot of young people here at this venue as well. When they want to take action for an impact, it is easier to bring about impact in a local community, and young people tend to have high interest in carbon neutralities and SDGs, and they have commitment to their hometown. They take the ownership of the local issues.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so yeah, okay, so compare with like urban area, so like rural community has more passion to improve local community. So this might be also a key success factor. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'd like to ask a question to Imanari-san. So Imanari-san, so including APN, I'm interested like how like international organization can support like a regional cooperation or maybe international cooperation to promote regional CS approach to Asia and maybe other regions as well.
Yes, thank you very much for your questions. As I already said in my presentation, I think readiness to communicate with each other. I mean, of course, there are policies, national policies, local government policies, and there are many, many stakeholders, and all of them, they must kind of work together. But in order to do so, and we have heard from all other presenters as well, that you simply need to talk to each other in order to learn what are the needs and perspectives of other stakeholders. Without knowing the other side of the matter, so to speak, we cannot move forward. And I think the role and the duty of organizations, not only of national organizations, but in particular international organizations, such as the one I'm representing here, is to encourage people, all people, policymakers, scientists, practitioners, and so on, to talk to each other and learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Imanari-san. So now, sorry, very limited time, maybe just five minutes, but if any like a question, comment from audience, we'd like to appreciate. And also for online participants, if you have any comments, question, please use a Q&A function, like at the bottom of the screen, there is a Q&A. So and if you have any comments or questions, so please first introduce yourself, and then if comments, questions to particular panelists, please specify. Okay, please.
Thank you very much. I don't know, standing or?
It's up to you. Yeah, please feel free.
First of all, I want to say thank you for all the panelists. It's give us some more insight for mainstreaming the CIS concept into this agenda for enhancing integrated action on climate change. Okay, so related to the public and private sector collaboration, that we all know that it have to be a collaboration between the public and private sector. And my question is general for all the panelists, maybe. Are there any successful example for public-private partnership that have effectively mainstreamed the CIS approach? And regarding the knowledge sharing and capacity building, what kind of role for educational institution, and research organization play in building capacity for integrated action in CIS? Because my name is Dharma. I'm from University of Indonesia, part of the educational institution. Okay, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much for very good question. Okay, so for first question about some successful case of private public partnership, if anybody, any panelist can have some answer. First, I direct invite. No. Maybe, yeah. Okay, so could you?
Yeah, thank you very much for your nice question, and thanks for coming from Indonesia to join this ICEP. Actually, we met in the workshop we organized in Indonesia, and his university was the host of that workshop. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your question. And yeah, it is very important to actually consider the public-private partnership for upscaling of this CS approach. And as we pointed out, I think Mr. Kamal Kishore also mentioned about the agrovoltaics. When we talk about the agrovoltaics in the Nagpur context, actually government already has many supporting scheme for the solar project. But that project actually, government alone cannot upscale that project and take it to the forward. So we need to throw this CES concept, application of CES concept, we need to bring the private sectors in the platform and engage them in the real implementation of the project and take the benefit from this project and give the benefit to the local people. So that is the kind of way that we can actually consider public-private partnership is very important. And I think Yokohama City already established some kind of collaboration with the local government in the other areas to generate the renewable energy. I think Takashi-san may share some example if in your process, if private sector also involved and how they are involved in this process, if you can share.
Thank you. Yeah, as I explained, we have a renewable energy agreement with other local governments with high potential of renewable energy. And to supply electricity is very necessary to have a collaboration with private companies. So public-private collaboration is a basis of this kind of interregional cooperation issues.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Then just very briefly about this education. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Thank you very much. I think I combined these two questions together. We are working, just to give you a very quick example, I know that we are running out of time, that we are working in Kochi Prefecture, and there are two small towns in the upstream and one larger town in the downstream, and they are using the same river basin. So it's, of course, like for their own benefits, they need to actually share this concept of the CES. So what we are trying to do is that try to use with the private sector in the larger cities to issue some sort of green bond, which will actually help the upstream smaller towns, especially to make their forest management and make the mountain management so that the water quality in that particular river basin becomes better. So it's a very classic example of the CES concept, but also like as an academic institutions. So we are trying to give very specific data and observation and trying to help them in making this particular dialogue between among these three cities. Because we are an outside entity, possibly if you just leave the local government, it's sometimes they need a platform to collaborate. So that's our role actually, to provide that type of specific platform as well as the evidence. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, sorry now, time is now, so we have to finish today's session. But today, so we have a very rich information from our excellent speakers, and then I hope this session can, cause your further interest in this kind of approach, and then to promote sustainable development in this region. Yeah, so thank you for your participation, and please join me to give big hands to all the speakers. Thank you very much.